all big tech companies like Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, everybody asks for case studies before they hire a UX designer. तो आज मैं आपको बताऊंगा exactly what students miss in their case studies, why so many UX designers get rejected, along with some practical tips on how you can make better user interfaces and solve problems in a much more practical way. And at the very end, I will share a list of some incredibly valuable resources that will help you upskill yourself for free. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. Alright, so let's get started. Today we will cover the second half of your UX case study. The entire series was split into 4 modules. We've covered the first 2 modules in the previous video. So let's start with understanding what exactly do you write in the second half of your UX case study once you've defined the problem statement, once you've set context. Now, if you remember, in the last episode, I had shared a pre-UX case study checklist. Please make sure that you follow this checklist because whatever advice that I give you moving forward, it will not have the maximum impact until unless कि आपने ये checklist completely follow करी हो. So I will assume that you have done all of these things, you've done your homework, and moving forward, I want to talk about a very cool article that I read, and this article is pretty old. And अगर आप इस website पे जाओगे, you will have access to it. It is from this company called UX Collective. So if you go on Medium, you'd realize that UX Collective is a very popular repository of UX articles, and majority of the good UX case studies that are published on Medium are often picked by UX Collective. So UX Collective launched this thing called the Case Study Factory, where they were talking about some very important tips. Now, of course, after the video, you can go read this article, but I wanted to pick some very interesting insights. So their argument is that anytime a designer graduates or finishes learning, that designer would go on YouTube and figure out that everybody is essentially following the same case study template. Problem statement, persona, wireframes, user journey, like there's a set template. And because that template has been used so many times, anytime you see a case study, you would realize that they're following that one simple prescription. Now, the irony is that all designers want to stand out. They want to say that, oh, I am so unique, my problem solvings are way different and better than other people, yet they're all following the same set of rules. So how can designers stand out if everyone is using the same case study template? And I'll tell you why this happens, because a lot of people are now enrolling in cohorts and online courses. And these UX schools, they keep pushing students to make case studies. And the thing is, for most of these cohorts, their end KPI, their final metric, their final target is to get these students placed or to show their case studies. Because if a student does not get placed, the second thing that you can show is at least proof of work. Now, they can't show Figma files, right? And they can't waste time collating everybody's work. So what they do is they keep pushing students that write a case study so that they can show off those case studies to the next batch of admissions. So what happens is that because they want scale, they end up sharing templates. They say that you have 15 days. This is a set template. Make sure you check the boxes, and that is how a case study is made. For reference, you can go on Medium. And because on Medium, everybody is using the same template, they all end up looking the same. Like every single case study that I now see on the internet is not taking enough risks. Now, what happens is that when students get a template, they become very anxious and they are afraid of trying new things. So I would get a lot of messages from people saying that our user flow is necessary, our wireframes necessary, is a prototype extremely necessary? And I'm like, nothing is necessary. There is no mark system. There is no rule sheet that teachers follow, right? Like it is just about showing how good you are at problem solving. So what you need to understand is that even though there needs to be some structure to how your case study should evolve and how you should define the problem statement and show the solution, this point from point A to point B, it is not necessary that you follow a checklist. You can do whatever you want, make it clear, make it easy to understand, but you can always take risks. Because what happens is that a lot of cohorts are 3 to 4 months long. So what they do is they quickly teach you basics of Figma, basics of UI design, and they skip mental models. Now, what do I mean by that? Basic understanding of how the brain thinks, basic understanding of how product psychology is being used in all the applications that we use on a day-to-day basis. The thing is, it is very easy to teach you Figma and UI design and basic tactics, right? Because you can learn it. But when it comes to understanding and digesting psychology models. When it comes to, recognizing that, oh, this is the psychology model that they're using, these things take time. And I don't think that this can happen in 4 months or 3-4 months. So a lot of these students that graduate or do these online certifications, they end up making case studies that are all about, showing off these processes and design processes and user personas and components and styles and all of these things, without understanding that in the end, it is all about solving a problem in a way where the user feels very comfortable. In the end, it is about using psychology to help the user navigate. In the end, it's about helping your business make more money, to make the business more profitable. For some reason, this is absolutely thrown out of the window, and we eventually end up seeing case studies that are just about UI and some, processes. Before you move ahead, I want to tell you about our latest learning website, howtoprom.in, where you can get free AI resources, roadmaps, and step-by-step guides that will teach you everything that you need to know about tools like ChatGPT and Midjourney. Now, because of limited time, students find the shortest path. So what they do is they have a case study to make. So they usually pick two options. One is they pick a very successful app and do a redesign of it, or they just take a problem statement that they get from these dummy websites. Now, there are some dummy websites on the internet that give really, really fictional problems, and I have also recommended one of them. But now, after learning more, after evolving more, I've realized that using something like ChatGPT or using your own problem statements is way more effective. So what you need to do is, you need to figure out how you can come up with either new solutions or new problem statements, or solve a problem that you understand, that you have a direct exposure to. Because when somebody is reading the problem statement, it is very, very evident whether this is a real problem or a created problem. So don't create fictional problems just to make a case study out of it. Now, a lot of students also rely on cold emailing, LinkedIn messages, and Medium, thinking that if I post something on Medium and make a Notion portfolio, now what I need to do is I just need to message people on LinkedIn and ask for an internship. Folks, please, this is not how the world works. And even though I keep telling this prescription that write your 3 case studies, put it on Notion, connect with people on LinkedIn, people feel that now they need to chase people to get a job. And I understand where you're coming from, because I know that your parents and the society is putting a lot of pressure on you to quickly get a job. What I would recommend you to do is that if you're in a college, and by the way, I always recommend people to finish their college. If you're not getting a design degree, you enter a job which is not about design, just for some time, just to pay your own bills. But in parallel, spend all your time becoming very, very good at what you do. Spend your entire bandwidth becoming very, very strong at your understanding of UX psychology and first principles. Because in the second half of the video, I'll tell you how all of these execution tasks are not even that valuable, right? So you need to become a better ideator, a person who understands first principles. So cohorts love this because these mini case studies attract new naive folks. So the thing is, these cohorts and certifications, they're very, very happy even if you don't make an effective case study, because who are they impressing? They're impressing the next pool of students that they're selling to. So they know that we got 100 kids. These 100 kids don't know anything. Let us make them write some very basic case studies. And very few of them actually give you placements. The ones that give placements are very, very good, but there are very few of these cohorts in our country that actually give you placements. All the rest, they don't promise you placements. So what they do is they promise you case studies, and they take these case studies, which are actually not that effective, and they show those case studies off to a new pool of students who have no clue about design. So obviously they get impressed and their cycle keeps on running. Now, if everyone is following the same rules, how do you expect to show your own special thinking? Because I'll tell you what the problem is. Students start faking wireframes and personas, and they keep following a process which is far away from real life application. If you think that in a startup or a company, you first make wireframes, IA, user flows, all of these things, and then start your Figma work, you are far away from reality. Really big companies have that kind of a budget and bandwidth to do all of these things in order. But in a real startup, it's like day 1, you collect inspiration. Day number 2, you start making some basic UI. Day number 3, you show it to your CEO and your PM and they give you feedback, and you just keep iterating and iterating. There is not enough time to take interviews. There is not enough time to think really deeply about how the user flow would look like. You just have like a brief idea so that you don't make terrible mistakes. There is no time to optimize every single thing in the handoff, because it's all about shipping and iterating, right? So most of the companies follow the fail fast approach, where you put out something in the public, you get feedback, and then you improve on it, because they're like, we have to launch the product ASAP. So if you're following a very traditional curriculum, you will not be prepared for the fast-paced abilities and the fast-paced expectations that your PMs and your CEOs will have when you join your company, right? So in most cases, startups rely on simply inspiration, launch, and iteration. So they would just pick applications that are doing similar things, tell you that, hey, this application is doing very, very well. Just pick some elements, launch it, and then we'll iterate on it. Now, students make case studies in UI that end up impressing designers and not founders. So I read a lot of case studies where they're showing off their visuals, their After Effects implementations, and their prototyping, and they use complicated lingo. They use complicated words, thinking that a designer will be really impressed. A designer will know how much effort I've made. Folks, your case study is not going to be read by designers only. It's going to be read by founders. It's going to be read by HR managers, agencies, all kinds of people, right? Now, of course, one touch point can be by the head of design, but because most of you are beginners, you're going to be hired by beginner-based companies or smaller companies. These companies are themselves not very educated about design. So you need to make sure that in your case study, you use the simplest language. And you need to write your case studies knowing that maybe a CEO will read this, maybe a founder will read this, maybe a product manager will read this. So you don't have to make things to impress designers. You need to write case studies that impress other stakeholders as well. And very few focus on systems, scale, and revenue. So I would see case studies where they are doing so much of research talking about how good their UI looks and how they've made these buttons without actually going deep into the systems that they have followed. So if you followed a logic for your button system, if you followed a logic for your homepage or your carousels or your images or anything, any system that you have, please talk about it, because for businesses, scale is the most important thing. For a business, if you reduce the time it takes to develop, if you reduce the turnaround times, if you reduce the amount of time it takes to implement feedback, they will always love you. Yet very few designers understand this. And most importantly, revenue. Very few case studies actually highlight how their new user interface would improve checkouts, or how it would improve more revenue, or how it would boost profits, or how it would make it easier for the customer to buy or purchase something, because in the end, most of the applications are doing that. A mobile app is usually targeting two things. One, returning users, and two, users spending more time. And if you have any product to sell, then the third component is the checkouts or the conversions. Very few students talk about this when they're writing their case studies. Folks, this is what the business cares about. If you don't pick these things, please don't expect the right kind of people to get impressed by you. So if I were to put this into a checklist, if you're writing a case study which has a clear copy, a significantly better solution, not just about making things look fancy, but if you've actually proposed a good solution, if you complement it with a clean UI, you are good to go. You don't have to overthink about all the things that you should put in a case study, and then realize that the real world is impressed by prototypes and results. So if your case study is 70% of process and thinking and just 30% of a prototype or UI, then you've lost the war. You need to begin with a very strong impression. Begin with the final UI. Make sure you embed a prototype at the very end, because normal people want to play with your app. They don't want to see static screens, because it's very difficult to understand how static screens would really work. So always learn the art of high fidelity prototyping. So just to summarize, students end up spending extra time on the processes at the expense of quality output, which is very, very sad. Now, I cannot teach you problem solving in just 20-25 minutes, right? Because that is going to be the duration of this video. I think it might extend because we have a lot to cover. But anyway, I can't teach you how you can solve problems, how you can think clearly in such a short span of time. So in this video, I'm going to share some basic UI fixes and resources, because now that I've told you that there's no set prescription, if you watch video number 1, and if you watched all the videos I have shared around, the UX redesigns, the UX breakdown, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. And at the very end of this video, I will be sharing a lot of free resources that will give you inspiration on how do you solve better problems, how do you think about UX psychology, how do you structure your thoughts clearly, right? So if your problem solving skills are bad, then you either study others first. Let's say you open up applications on your phone, you go to a website like Mobin, you go to page flows, whatever it is, you study how other people solve problems, or you work on small freelance projects. Now, I have already created a video which is on freelance versus jobs. In that, I've shared so many resources on how you can actually get freelance clients. There is Upwork, there is TopTal, there is Internshala, there is Fiverr, there is Behance, there is Dribble, there are websites all over. Even on LinkedIn, they are starting to get, interns and freelancers that allow you to get work exposure, real life exposure, not just like fictional stuff, right? So work on those. But you need to become a better problem solver. And please make sure you have finished this checklist right here. So our 15 episode course, which is freely available in Hindi and English, I still don't get it why people don't watch it. I'm starting to think that just because I've given it out for free, most people think that it is not valuable, which is a cognitive bias. It's a mental flaw. Just because it is out there for free doesn't mean that it's bad. It is actually very, very useful for a fresher. Then our UX UI breakdown series, we've done breakdown of so many popular applications. Please go through them. Then have you finished the growth.design psychology case studies? Have you read all the psychology models on Built for Mars? So please finish this checklist. This will really, really help you. And I'm telling you, this will at least take 2 to 3 months for sure. See folks, if you're targeting the 12 to 18 lakhs per annum salary, then you have to pay the price. When you enter a degree, you give that college 2 to 3 years to get your job, right? It's not like you enter the college and after 5 months you're like, oh, give me 18 lakh rupees per year. It doesn't happen. So when you're willing to give so much of money and so much of time to somebody else, then why are you not giving time to my syllabus, which is available for free, and I'm just asking for 5 to 6 months? If you do this for 5 to 6 months, I'm telling you, you will be sorted. Now, recently, I had published a type form where I had asked students to send their case studies. And now we will figure out some very, very common mistakes that I keep seeing in other students' का case studies. And please note folks कि अगर मैं यहाँ पे आपकी कोई गलती निकाल रहा हूँ, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप गलत हो. And it doesn't mean that your entire case study is wrong. ठीक है? You need to understand that you are not your work. मैं आपके काम को criticize कर रहा हूँ और constructively criticize कर रहा हूँ. बट मैं आपको क्रिटिसाइज नहीं कर रहा हूं. तो आप और आपके काम में बहुत फर्क है, राइट? सो लेट्स जस्ट हाईलाइट सम वेरी वेरी कॉमन मिस्टेक्स दैट आई कीप सीइंग अगेन एंड अगेन. तो ये एक स्टूडेंट था जिसने इस तरीके से अपनी केस स्टडी में मॉकअप्स बनाए थे, एंड I'll show you what goes wrong here, okay? Now, this is a groups wala screen. And inside these groups, you have invitations and then you have public groups. Now, the thing is, I have seen this interaction on Facebook and Telegram. And you also know that majority of the people know how Telegram or Facebook works, or even how WhatsApp works. Rather than redesigning such basic things, you just need to make something which is slightly better than what exists. Right? And the thing is that when students are working on these case studies, they become very, very excited, saying that, oh, let's go super innovative. Let's do something completely new. Now, I know that this person has done something which is very similar to Twitter. But the thing is, you can always make it slightly familiar to applications that people already use. Right? And if you look closely here, he has also used similar copy again and again. Now, this is a huge red flag. And I still don't know what is this. Is this like the number of members? I am assuming that this is number of members, but the point is that you need an icon here, right? Also, you need to make sure that if you have ellipses, please have enough accessibility. You can see how the white is blending, right? Please don't use lowercase words. It just makes your entire UI look more playful and, less formal, less real. So why reinvent the UI when users appreciate similar UX? So if you build an app which is on communities, and if your user interface is similar to how Facebook works, users will not complain, they will appreciate it. If you were to redesign the drop down, or if you were to redesign, I don't know, the browsing URL section, people will really get annoyed, because people don't want change. They want small improvements, small nudges, time saving. But if you give something which is completely new, they will not react well to it. Also, why use same copy when you have so many plugins? I just don't get the point. Why do you do this user thing when I've shared so many plugins? In my 15 episode course, there's this one video which has a list of plugins. So you have so many copywriting plugins, you just have to click once and it would generate names at scale. And then why are you not following the iOS guidelines? Like I saw this thing right here which has a radio button. Even these buttons, even this tab bar right here, right? Now my question is that if you were to put this on the iOS App Store, I'm pretty sure that you will get some sort of complaint, because these are not following the iOS guidelines. So folks, I keep repeating this again and again, that before you design an application for either Android or iOS, you need to spend at least 10 to 12 days going through all the guidelines. So Apple has their HCI guidelines. Android has their material design guidelines. Without understanding the guidelines, you will not be able to make something which is really practical and feasible and actually accurate to what these platforms expect from us. Now, the same case study had a tutor section. Okay, and I'm not going through all of the context because you can always pause the video, but look here, all available, there is no L here. Now this is a huge red flag because you are putting this on the internet, and this doesn't mean that you don't know English. It means that you are not very careful about your work, like you're actually not very mindful about your spelling mistakes. Also, accessibility is one of the most important things ever. Do you think this will be accessible? Do you think this will be accessible? Absolutely not. So please folks, anytime you're writing text, anytime you're creating a surface, please make sure that these surfaces and copies are accessible. And then I keep seeing this capitalization in copy. I don't get it. What is this profile video in capitals? Like, capitals are reserved for labels. Okay, and I know that I'm being very harsh, I'm being very cutthroat, and even for the person who has made this case study, folks, it is my job to point out mistakes in these videos because you already know the good parts, right? I will share you resources that will teach you what to do, but then you also have to be very self-aware of all of these common mistakes that you're doing. So when I'm pointing out these mistakes, that is why I don't reveal names. But you need to understand that Ansh is trying to give you constructive feedback, constructive criticism, and you don't have to feel offended about it. You need to take it with an open mind, pick what you feel makes sense, and then build on top of that. Because I'm not criticizing you, I am criticizing your work, which needs a lot of input. So please avoid capitalization in copy. There was one more case study where I saw these onboarding screens. So this person had shown before and after like this. Okay, so basically this was the original screen and this is the new version. So I really like this, right? Like it is way more cleaner. This person followed proper input guidelines, proper button system. But then small things are really putting off. For example, when you come to these headings, folks, please use sentence case. Sentence case means that only E will be capital, this will be small, this will be small. Email address. What is this email? Just write email, or you can say add email, and I will give you some resources that will help you understand copywriting in general. But you don't write password, you can always write enter password, right? Forgot password is okay, login is okay, these things are okay. But you need to make sure that your text does not have excess of elements and your casing and your grammar is correct. Now, even in this case, this was the original screen and this person redesigned it this way, and this is pretty good. But again, and more, this has to be small, right? This is again not very accessible. And overall, the UI I personally feel can be way more cleaner and modern. So I'll tell you how to improve your UI design skills. But overall, this was a huge improvement. Now, there was one more case study where this person had done quite a lot of good research. Even the UI was pretty good, but there were small things that this person could have improved. Now this is slightly better in case because you can see that this person had the labels, the design is also not that bad, it is accessible, all of these things are working. But now see what goes wrong. This person has used 11 pixel or 12 pixel font sizes, which is a huge issue. Okay, this person has used these very new toggle components. So these are ellipses, right? So this is called pagination. Why are you creating these new elements when you can simply have something which is already available in the iOS, right? You don't have to spend your developer ka time making these things from scratch. Even when we come to the category section, this person had put really off images. Like, I just feel that these images could have been better because this image works, but when it comes to wall decor, you could have added an ellipse and then put something in the center. For your shoes, an ellipse and then a shoe in the center, so that these are uniform. Visually, they need to be uniform. They don't belong to the same family. And you can take inspiration from Swiggy for this, because Swiggy does this very well. Now look at this thing, best sellers. It's a single word, right? In 1256, you forgot the comma and you've put 0.00. Now this 0.00 is irrelevant, because do you ever list a product which is 1256.56 rupees? Absolutely not, right? So for every single word, every single digit that you're putting on your UI, please be very careful about it. Now, this scanning code screen, I'm pretty sure that this person forgot about the feedback that you need to put. So when you're scanning, you see that there's a bar that goes up and down. So I really appreciate the fact that this person added the right image. This image is absolutely perfect. But what about the scanning interaction, right? And it should not be scanning code. This is actually a heading. From what I can assume, this looks like a heading. So it should be scan your code. And then here, it can say something like scanning and then 3 dots. Because if this is status, let's just assume that this is your status, then you should at least put either a loader like this, or put three dots? Like, where is the feedback for me to understand that this is an ongoing process? And now here in this cart, these buttons are so close to each other. You can always take inspiration from Swiggy's UI. There's Amazon as well. They have, enough target size so that if I tap on it with my thumb, I will not press any other button. Again, very small font size, very small font size. So please don't use such edgy buttons, right? I feel like this much of, maybe 8 pixels of border radii works well, but when you add such sharp boxes and such sharp buttons, it comes out to be like very, very less friendly. Because here you've added ellipses, here you've added perfectly sharp border radii, and your buttons, they have like around 2 pixels radii. So it doesn't work. And see here also QR and barcode. First of all, it is just the enter either like a barcode or a UPI ID, something like that. I don't think you can put in QR code. From what I know, even if it exists, if I don't know, I'm pretty sure that most of people won't even know how you can type the QR code, and I don't think people look at the number and type it. But I still feel that you can always make this capital. So enter QR code or enter bar code. And I don't know why this asterisk is there, because it's not compulsory, right? It's anyway or. And why do you have a search icon on the enter thing? If this is an input field, then why would you have a search icon, right? So from what I can understand, this person is probably trying to say that if you put a QR code, then you can actually search through that product. Or if you don't have the QR code, you can tap on the search icon and then actually read a list of products. But again, folks, this is not very easy to understand. There was one more case study. This person actually impressed me a lot because this person had a lot of attention to detail. So this was an application that allows you to buy like lehengas and like shadi ke kapde, aisa kuch scene tha. But the only downside, and first of all, let's just point out all the good things. The good things is that amazing wireframes, but I'm slightly like suspicious. I think that this person made the UI first and then made the wireframes, because it's very tough to make wireframes of this fidelity. But if you made these wireframes, like kudos to you. But even in the wireframes, notice how small the font sizes are, right? Size of Trapti, I don't know if this is a person's name or if this is a button, but it is still not clear. And these fonts also, these typefaces are super, super small. So I keep seeing this mistake again and again, that students are not making accessible UI. So from the wireframe, this is the actual UI that this person created. And you can see how small these would be. Like, imagine how tough it would be to tap on these. Look at the gap in between these. So please, folks, make sure that your buttons, your copy, your grammar is correct, because see, I can measure myself में M capital, M capital. ये जितना भी आपका content है, absolutely inaccessible. Want more customization? Go to Design. So it's super, super small, but overall, kudos for this person to think through all of this, because this one case study had so many detailed interactions. Like, I have no clue how this person had this much of information about clothing in general. So pretty good. There was one more case study on dog shelters. Now, I really liked this one, but there are some issues that I keep seeing in applications. Now, I can see this application and 100% predict that this person did not declare type styles. Why? Because you can see all kinds of different typefaces all over the place. Second, this person has also not declared color styles because they've used so many colors, and they've also used gradients in CTAs. So please avoid doing this, because I also saw this one interface. I think I did not keep that. So this person's buttons were really inaccessible, right? And if you go here, you would realize that it looks too playful. There's too much of distancing. The text has no hierarchy. So this person needs a lot of UI inspiration. So you need to understand where are you lacking. If you're lacking in UI inspiration, then you study user interfaces. If you feel that you're struggling in problem solving, you read psychology models and read other people's case study. If you feel that your prototyping is weak, then you watch Figma tutorials, right? So these are small areas where you can really improvise yourself. Now, this was another one which was for web, and I'm very happy that I saw at least some web projects. All people are just too busy, working on mobile applications. But I personally feel that web is a very untapped market, and even in India, a lot of companies hire web UX designers, which is like for web products. Now, I really like this stuff, but the only issue that I saw here is that this person has picked a very serious topic, yet the entire branding is very playful. So the visuals are not working out. And even here, when you see this thing, this is a curved surface within a curved tab. Folks, this has to be filled. It has to be edgy, right? When you have result pass, put an icon, because people scan, they don't read. So you need to assume that your students, or not students, but basically your readers, are just going to skim through your interface, right? Even with the typeface, I keep seeing people using pop-ins. I just don't get it. Why can't you use something like Plus Jakarta or Inter or SF Pro? Like these are the fonts that you can use when you're making something serious. Not even Plus Jakarta. I think Inter works really well. This was another case study where I really like the fact that this person showed the old design and the new design with iterations as well. So this was done very well, but small issues that I saw here was that the icons were too close to each other. So this is one metric that students keep forgetting, that you need to keep in your mind that a person is going to be using this with their thumb. And if your buttons are so close to each other, they will often end up tapping the wrong items, right? So I just wanted to highlight this one single thing. But overall, this one was a really good case study. I'm just putting these examples right here so that you can also see. This one is also decent, but I'll tell you one huge mistake. And I have pointed this out not because the UI was bad, but this is a very common mistake that students make. See folks, there's a principle, okay? Let's say this is my app and this is my background. Okay, now I have a card on top of this, which looks like this. Now, anytime you're making a card, okay, you need to make sure that the color of this card is lighter than the background. Now, you do an exercise yourself. You pick any dark theme UI. You will realize that the surface would be pitch black and the card would be light gray. Now, why does that happen? I'll tell you the logic behind it. It is assumed that if this is my screen, so this is my sideways of my screen, okay, sideway angle, and assume that these are your eyes, okay, and let me put a torch here, okay, and this torch is sending off light. Now, it is assumed that whatever layers are on the front, these are closer to the light, so they need to be lighter. Anything which is inside, this has to be darker. So when it comes to input fields, an input field can be gray if the surface is white because it is going inside. But if you have a card like this, then make sure that your surface is gray and this card is pitch white. It is one shade lighter. Anything that is above the surface, anything that is floating, anything that is closer to the source of light should be in a lighter color. So it's just one very small thing that I wanted to cover. Now that I've shared these small UI fixes, before I share you all the free resources that can help you become a better UX designer, this is a non-negotiable UX case study checklist. So I gave you one checklist in episode number 1. In episode number 2, this is a checklist once you have understood everything that I explained you in the previous 20-25 minutes. First is, have you completed the pre-UX case study checklist? Then once you've finished your case study, have you used simple language and short sentences? Have you run a grammar check on your copy? Copy means all the text. Have you used accessible colors? Proper type system where you always start with 14 pixels and 12 pixels is the danger area. Like you barely use 12 pixels. And line spacing. Have you shown more of the execution or the result? Or you've spent too much time on the process? Have you embedded GIFs in the starting along with the 60-second Loom video that summarizes what this is? And if you don't know what Loom is, you can go to my YouTube channel, just type the word Loom, and I've made like a proper video on design tools and productivity tools everybody should use. So I keep talking about Notion and Loom. So Loom helps you do screen recording with you explaining. So please make sure you have a Loom video so that a recruiter or a designer can just go through that video. Have you added your Figma prototype embed at the end? So you can embed your Figma prototypes. If you don't know how prototyping works, I've already shared so many resources in my 15 episode course. The last 5-6 videos will teach you about that. If somebody scans your article, will they easily know what it's about, or do they have to spend a lot of time, reading through the paragraphs? And have you shown your articles to your non-designer friends? Have you shown it to people who are from different backgrounds? Have you taken their feedback? Don't just directly publish to the internet, because everything that you put on the internet is actually influencing your brand. So please don't put anything which is not fully checked and fully iterated. And have you spent at least 1 week collecting feedback? So go to a website like ADP List, go to LinkedIn, find people, be a part of communities, share it with your friends, share it with your designer friends, but please make sure that you're collecting feedback. With that, we come to module 4, and folks, trust me, this one single video is going to give you ample of resources to plan your next 2 to 3 months. I wanted to make sure that I make one really detailed video, जिससे इस वीडियो के बाद कुछ भी ना बचे, क्योंकि मुझे बहुत से क्वेश्चंस आते थे, यूएक्स केस स्टडी कैसे लिखती है, क्या करना है, ये वो. So I decided I will sit down. I spent 1 week formulating all of these things, and finally मैंने ये collection पूरा complete कर लिया है. तो I'm telling you folks, this one single collection will help you a lot. See, सबसे पहले I want you guys to understand copywriting in general. So you need to go to this website called ctaexamples.com. यहाँ पे please read call to action examples. Okay, they have copywriting tools as well, they have generators as well, but मजे की बात ये है that they have more than 100 call to action examples for e-commerce, for recruitment, for webinars, for calling, for app downloads, and you will understand how to communicate something valuable in less amount of words. Then we have smarterpatterns.com. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know कि I've been talking about AI. I've been talking about multiple applications implementing AI. तो अब होने क्या वाला है कि all softwares are gonna have built-in AI tools. And when that happens, even UX designers need to understand how AI works and how would guidelines change now that AI has come into the picture. So this one single website is an interaction pattern library that provides solutions for common AI challenges, and you will love it. Like, this has picked really practical and actionable tips on how UX designers can use copywriting, can use interaction to make interfaces that involve a lot of AI. Then you have refro.design. This website is a repository of real world designs from some of the best products ever. So you can search via page types, search via UX patterns, search via UI elements. Like, there's a lot that you can do, right? And of course, they have iOS apps, they have websites. So there's a lot of inspiration that you can take from this one single resource. Next, we have chroma.co. So basically, I keep seeing people who use really bad colors or incorrect colors. You can always outsource this process to AI. So when you go to this website, you can just click on get started and it will create multiple color palettes for you. And all you need to do is copy the hex code and just experiment along your mood board. So of course, as we've discussed in our previous episodes, you have UI colors, you have semantic colors, and then you have your brand colors. So Chroma helps you fix your brand colors. If you're doing something with social media, then you would probably prefer something which is in blues. If you're doing something which is classy and luxurious or very like streetwear sort of a thing, then you can always stick to white and black, or maybe something in reds. If you're doing something which is around nature or health or nutrition, then you can probably do something with green, because even these colors influence the way we look at a product, the way we perceive a brand, right? So you can always outsource that to AI. Then a lot of people don't understand basic UX terminology. They don't have the right vocabulary to pitch their ideas to a stakeholder. So you can always go to uxdictionary.io, and they have so many UX keywords that it will really expand your brain to how this world really works, right? So it is alphabetical wise. It's almost like a very quick syllabus. It will take you around 2 to 3 days. Whatever you make, whatever you learn, please make sure you document it on Notion. Otherwise, you will keep forgetting it. When we did our video on spatial design, I had spoken about Humane. And if you still don't know what Humane is, you should check out their TED Talk. But Humane has launched these guidelines on this website called Humane by Design. And what they've done is they have released some very valuable articles and principles, like first principles that will never change. And they are so authentic. They are so nuanced. They are so powerful that if a designer spends some time just reading these, I'm telling you, you will have so much more understanding of how users behave with products. Then you have goodpractices.design. So I'm sharing these because, it's not just about Figma. It's also about understanding what users like, what our brain perceives as comfortable, right? So even here, you will have multiple guidelines for naming, for organizing your files. There's so much of content, so much of value in this documentation available for free that you will absolutely love it. Then we also have Biased by Design. Now, I personally love websites that talk about mental models and cognitive biases and mental fallacies, because when you read these mental models, you're like, how am I actually doing this? Like, why is my brain just hardwired to behave in a certain way? And then you realize that it's not just you, it's everybody else. So you can use these principles when you're designing applications. So this is a resource for cultivating awareness of when and how cognitive bias can be introduced into the design process, right? So this is not just about UX psychology. It is about you as a designer being aware of your own biases when you're designing products, right? So these articles will really open up your mind, make you a way more self-aware designer that will eventually help you design way better products. And then while you're problem solving, while you're structuring your research, there's a website called untools.co, which basically gives you these concepts of thinking tools, basically thinking frameworks that can help you analyze what you already know, because sometimes there's so much of knowledge, so much of awareness, so much of content, so many things to juggle that your brain might get cluttered. So this one single website will teach you how to actually organize your data, how to make concept maps, how to make frameworks, how to make a resolution diagram, right? And we haven't picked these topics in detail, but I personally know that you will get a lot of benefit. We will have videos in depth for each and every framework that is listed here, but you don't have to wait for me because you already have resources like these in front of you. Then at the very end, once you have, collected your case studies, once you have done all of your work, there's this website called prettyfolio.com that will help you discover the best portfolios. And this one is filled with inspiration. Like, you will personally love the creativity, the nuance, the kind of projects that people are working on. So you go to this website and just keep seeing their work, and you can always connect with these people on LinkedIn as well, right? So this will also help you connect with like-minded people. So just like this video, there is one more video that I had uploaded where I had shared 10 UX design resources as good as a UX design degree. And trust me folks, this one had really powerful resources around design systems, web inspiration, a lot of that kind of stuff. I've not repeated those because I want to make sure that with every single video, I give you something that you have never seen before, right? And if you've liked this video so far, make sure you comment, because every single comment really helps us. Make sure you click on subscribe, hit the bell icon and like this video, because each and every like, each and every comment helps us go a very long way. But the video, it has not ended. There's still something very important that I want to share. So the thing is, when you come to my YouTube channel as a beginner, you don't know what to watch first, because I have not really uploaded all videos in order. So last week I sat down and I made a roadmap of videos that you need to watch in a specific order, so that if you're a complete fresher and अगर आपको बिल्कुल आइडिया नहीं है कि मुझे क्या करना है, अगर आप ये रोडमैप फॉलो करते हो, I'm telling you, you will be sorted. You will not need any help from anybody to become a legit pro UX designer. सबसे पहला video is the step-by-step roadmap for becoming a UX designer, because this will give you a complete career guide towards planning your career switch, and it will also answer, all the basic questions on degree kaun si chahiye, which laptop, what age, previous knowledge, everything. Once you have finished that video, you need to watch how to use Notion, because without Notion, it will be very difficult for you to document जो आप आगे सीखने वाले हो. So I teach how to use Notion for basic documentation and just understanding how do you structure your thoughts. इस वीडियो को देखने के बाद you need to see insider tips for getting a UX design job from Ansh Mehra, which is again a 21 minutes long video, and this is super nuanced, super detailed. I have shared जिसको बोलते हैं ना trade secrets, like hard learned lessons. इसके अंदर मैंने वो शेयर करे हैं, and it will teach you how to make more money as a UX designer and things you need to score better UX jobs, because you need this clarity before you start learning in the first place. क्योंकि आपको अगर अपना goal दिख जाएगा, if you're able to visualize your end outcome, then you will optimize your efforts accordingly. After that video, you need to finish these 15 episodes of my UX design course, available in both Hindi and in English. I see a lot of people starting the course, but they only finish the first 10 videos and they ignore the last 5. Ironically, the last 5 videos are the most important ones. If you still haven't seen this course, please watch it end to end. It is available in both Hindi and in English, and you'll have dozens of free resources, plugins, and articles. Now, once you finish these videos, it'll take you at least 1 month for finishing them. You need to work on your personality and your charisma and your communication skills. Now, to improve these things, you need to watch how to glow up and fix your life. I have been very candid in this video. Very rarely I talk about my personal experiences and my personal journey, because being successful in life is not just about knowing your skills. It is also about knowing what to say, personality, communication skills, self-confidence, just having faith in yourself, just having the right mindset. So this is where I share those things, and I teach how to build your self-faith and just, earning more in life. Once that is done, you need to make a decision of where do you want to work first. So for that, I have made this video called freelancing versus full-time job. Which one is right for you? Which is a 30-minute long video which will give you a proper reality check of what happens versus a big company, a startup, freelance, whatever it is. Also some resources to get your paid UX work. Then once you finish all of this and once you've started outreaching, in parallel, you need to improve your problem-solving skills. For that, you need to watch our UX UI breakdown playlist. There are 3-4 videos right now, but this one will take you out of the theory. It will actually give you exposure into real world applications and actually make make you understand how do big companies use UX design, because I see a lot of people getting stuck in theory. But this one single playlist will give you real life exposure and give you real life examples to learn from. Once you've done your UX breakdowns, then you need to shift to UI redesigns, which is hands-on UI work. For that, you need to watch our UI redesign playlist, which again has around 5 to 6 videos where I've picked applications like Bank of Baroda, IRCTC. I also picked some student work. So you'll learn two things. One, all the common mistakes that students make. And then you'll also see what is my design process. I actually show you my files. I actually show you exactly what I do, how I collect inspiration, how do I think about user interfaces. So it is very, very actionable for you. Then you need to, please folks, this is so important. You need to know the basics of ChatGPT. I have uploaded an AI playlist of 6 videos. It covers both ChatGPT and Midjourney, and I teach you how to write better prompts in this day and age. If you're not using AI, you're wasting a lot of time, you're throwing away money, you're leaving money on the table simply because you're not ready to evolve and adapt. And then at the very end, and of course this is for like very, very advanced folks, once you've finished all those previous things, and it would take you at least 3 to 4 months minimum to do all of that syllabus. 3 to 4 months, I'm saying this right now. After that, once you're confident with your mobile design, spend some time of your day understanding augmented reality and virtual reality and spatial design. So we have also started making videos on making apps for the Apple Vision Pro, and this thing is going to launch in around Jan or Feb. And folks, when this thing launches, developers, designers, and product managers who understand AR or VR or spatial design will have way more leverage. So folks, right now you have the time to make the most of it, to make the most of your time and build a successful career, build a life that pays you well, build a life of freedom. It is not that difficult. All you need to do is set your mind to it, make a plan, learn from the right resources, stay consistent, write your case studies, be visible on the internet, become so capable that the right kind of people come and approach you. It takes time, but I am telling you, it is worth it. I have done it. My friends have done it. They don't regret the hard work at all. So yes, this was a pretty long video, but I hope it made sense. If you're here for the first time, my name is Ansh Mehra. I educate people about design, AI, and upskilling in general. We've been uploading a lot of videos on AI tools, UX design. It's been a very interesting journey, even for me, because I have been learning a lot. You will find all the resources in the description. You will also find this PDF right here with the checklists freely available in the description. But this time we've kept a password for the PDF because a lot of people were just directly downloading the PDF and not really watching the video. So this would be the password, and once you enter this password, this PDF would work for you. Now I would really appreciate if you let me know in the comment section, how was this video? Do you want more such in-depth content? Because I'm not really sure how people will respond to this kind of content which is so in-depth. What is the next topic that I should cover? Because we've done UX case studies, we've done redesigns. What is that one big doubt that is still stopping you from building a good career? I'll make sure I cover that. And yes, I always love all the LinkedIn posts that you share. I really appreciate every single thing that you folks have been doing. And with that being said, I hope that you're taking care of your mind and body. This is your dost Ansh Mehra signing out. If you like this video, make sure you click on like and hit the subscribe button. I regularly upload videos on UX design, marketing, and storytelling.